You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
That's right. Right now at 7, a local nonprofit organization in Pittsburgh gets awarded more than $1 million in grant money from the state.
Plus, a man connected to a quadruple murder in Illinois dies in a car crash in Oklahoma.
And we have a few showers on radar this morning, but we're expecting partly cloudy later on this afternoon, but more storms are in the forecast. I'll have all the details.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning.
And one Pittsburgh nonprofit organization was awarded more than $1 million by the state.
That's right. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more on how it will benefit area schools.
Community Green Farms is one of 5 nonprofits across the state that was awarded a $1,052,000 grant by the Kansas Department for Children and Families, and they're building farm classrooms.
It's very new, and it's unlike really any foundation in the United States. We are taking a indoor container farm and turning it into a farm classroom.
The first farm classroom started at Pittsburgh High School in 2022 and has been growing ever since.
This will allow us to finish 7 farm classrooms at 7 counties in the state of Kansas.
Planning all of these different skills that these farm classrooms can teach, but also they're growing a whole bunch of food for their school. Healthy food, nutritious food that schools buy a lot of lettuce for their salad bars, and now it'll be student-grown lettuce grown right there on campus.
The amount of produce grown in the farm classrooms is enough to support backpack programs while taking up little space.
Essentially, these farm classrooms have about 250 hanging vertical towers inside of them. Every single one of those towers can grow 8-10 heads of lettuce at a time. So this little box is basically the equivalent of a 2-acre lettuce farm just scrunched inside of a shipping container.
With farm classrooms like these, students can learn about agriculture and nutrition despite the weather conditions. Although parts of southeast Kansas are experiencing drought, students can still grow fresh produce.
We want to do this in every single county in the state of Kansas. And so next 10 counties, phase 2, we're just going to move north a little. And we're just going to start picking away at the state until we've done all 105 Kansas counties.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Though the program has been running since last year, the grant only goes into effect on October 1st.
I think that's a great idea. That's something I've actually been interested in getting into, aquaponics or hydroponics.
Yes.
Growing vegetables and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we have some storms on radar down to the south, but we also have a chance of storms in our forecast too. Right now you can see on radar in our area, things are pretty calm. We just have a few isolated showers near Erie down south of Chanute right now, but that's about it. The bigger storms are down in eastern Oklahoma from around Muskogee to Warner along I-44 or I-40 just east of Shakota down towards Latimer and LaFleur counties this morning. If you're suffering from allergies, it's going to get a little bit better tomorrow. Right now, we're looking at 7.2 today, most of that being ragweed, chenopod, and nettle. Then tomorrow, 6.7, and that's mainly because we're expecting scattered showers and storms tonight and in the morning hours, washing some of that out, so a little bit better tomorrow. Temperatures right now are not that bad, generally in the lower 60s up to the north. Like in Nevada was 60, same thing in Fort Scott, 63 in Parsons and Chanute, and 67 in Coffeyville as well as Nowata, and for our friends down in Grove. Right now, this afternoon, we're expecting temperatures to rise into the lower 80s by afternoon with a high of 83, lunchtime temperature of 78, and 82 degrees at 2 o'clock and 77 by 4 p.m. And looking down the lane, we have the morning fog in patchy areas and then partly cloudy this afternoon. And then we have some Friday storms in the morning. And then as we head into Saturday, a better chance of storms late Saturday into Sunday morning. And some of those storms are likely going to be severe with all threats possible. And I'll break all that down for you in the forecast coming up in just a little bit. Caitlin?
Thanks, Sam. A Coffeyville man will face a jury trial for the May 2022 shooting death of another man. A court has been set for the trial of David Allen Jackson for next March. Jackson is charged with 1 count of premeditated first-degree murder in the fatal shooting of Melvin Simpson Jr. at Jackson's home in Coffeyville. Jackson, who has been in the Montgomery County Jail since the discovery of Simpson's death in May 2022, plans to represent himself in the jury trial. A former Coffeyville minister is charged with the rape of a minor. William Keith Dodd, who is the former pastor of Newark Church of God, was formally charged with 2 counts of raping a youth on 2 occurrences between January 1st and September 11th of this year. If convicted of the charges, Dodd could face a lifetime imprisonment with no chance of parole. Dodd remains in the Montgomery County Jail with bond set at $250,000. An Independence man was sentenced to 59 months in prison after being granted a second chance on a prior sex crime conviction. James William Robertson of Independence pleaded no contest to 2 charges: aggravated intimidation of a witness younger than age 18 and aggravated battery. Following his release from prison, Robertson will be required to have 5 years of supervision. Police say a man driving a car connected to a quadruple murder in Illinois was killed after a fiery interstate crash in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Police say a man and a woman were both being investigated as people of interest in the murder of a family in Romeoville last weekend. Authorities say that they were located in the car with the license plate connected to the murders in Oklahoma. The driver sped off and crashed, and the car then burst into flames. Officers then heard what sounded like 2 gunshots after the crash. Police say the male driver was found dead with a gunshot wound. The unidentified woman also had a gunshot wound and is in critical condition. A truck driver is dead after being shot by a highway patrol trooper during a highway traffic stop. It happened yesterday morning on the Turner Turnpike. Authorities say the trooper had pulled the driver of the semi-trailer over, and the 2 got into an altercation. The trooper then opened fire. State Highway Patrol officials say they don't know why the driver was stopped or whether he had a weapon. They say that the driver wasn't hauling anything and didn't have a trailer. Up next, we'll meet a pair of good Samaritans who helped a person they didn't even know to ensure that they made it out of their burning car alive. And later, we meet a group of people who raised a $10,000 tip. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Fort Scott, Kansas, as today is Fall Fest in the town. Imagine this, you're just minding your own business, either walking, biking, or driving. Next thing you know, you look over and you see a burning car with someone trapped inside it. What would you do? Crystal Bailey has the story of some good Samaritans who helped pull a stranger from their burning car.
We just seen a car on fire, and I stopped, to see if there was anybody in there.
Eric Batansis, a mechanic for the city of Richmond, says he was driving east along Cummings Skyway in Crockett on Friday when he saw a white SUV on the roadside in flames.
I made a U-turn because I kind of passed it a little bit, and I was kind of scoping the scene, and I don't know, I just happened to turn around and say, you know what, let me just take a look, it just didn't feel right just leaving.
He says he jumped over the fence to help.
Oh my God.
His fiancée recorded this video from the road.
As I approached the vehicle, I heard a guy yelling for help, and so I just acted quick.
And he wasn't the only one.
The door was jammed up, so I tried prying it, and then here comes Matthias.
I don't even think I was thinking at all. I just took the door and I just yanked on it.
Matthias Hofstadler says he couldn't just stand by when he saw someone was trapped.
It could be somebody's kid or parent. And I remember when we pulled him out, he actually, I think his socks were on fire still. That's when the car just went poof.
They called 911 and waited for help to arrive.
We just moved him out the way, kept asking him if there was anybody else in the car.
Eric and Matthias say the driver was out of it, not able to respond to their questions. By the time emergency crews arrived, the car was engulfed in flames, but the driver was alive and taken to the hospital.
They were conscious, somewhat responsive, but you could see that the injuries were quite significant.
It was a big relief, yeah.
Crockett Carquinez Fire Chief Dean Colombo says the crews contained the fire within 3 minutes. He credits Eric and Matthias for saving the driver's life.
They had not acted immediately and without regard for their own safety. I truly believe that he would not have survived.
If we would have probably not, like even 10 seconds longer, he would have been completely done.
Chief Colombo says he is planning a recognition ceremony to thank the two men in person for what they did here, and CHP is still investigating the crash. We'll be right back with another check of your forecast right after this.
All right, welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We have some cloudy skies down in Seneca, Missouri this morning at Indigo Sky Casino Resort. A few sprinkles starting to drop from that, but most of the shower activity is going to be down to the south in eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas today. Right now in Joplin, we're sitting at 68 degrees with a calm wind, dew point is 62%. Or 62 degrees with a humidity of 81%. Most of this is ground clutter in our local area, but there is one little shower down in southwestern parts of Delaware County. That's all part of a system that's stretching from Muskogee down to around Stigler to Poto into western Arkansas. Most of that is going to stay to our south. Temperatures this morning are very pleasant, generally in the lower 60s up to the north, like in Nevada and in Fort Scott with 61. 62 in Yates Center and Chanute, as well as Lamar. Then you start getting into the upper 60s in Nowata, Independence, Sedan, as well as Grove. Rain chances today are going to be very low, except down in eastern Oklahoma, where they might have about 20% coverage. Then as we go into the overnight hours and tomorrow morning, that's when the rain chances really start to increase once again across the entire area. And it's all because we are watching a piece of energy rotating out of the plains into our area tomorrow. And then as we go into Saturday, a bigger system, and this is going to be a strong system as it pulls out into the plains with a cold front. And then by Sunday, that starts to sweep to the east, bringing in some drier air. But before then, we're going to be looking at the risk of severe weather all the way from western Iowa right down into northeastern Oklahoma. It includes all of our area, and all threats are possible. Tornadoes, large hail, high winds, and heavy rain, with the biggest threat being the heavy rainfall. But of course, we're in a drought, so a lot of rainfall is not necessarily a bad thing. All right, as we go through the forecast, we're going to look at rainfall amounts pretty significant, over 2 inches in some localized spots. This afternoon, though, partly cloudy skies with showers to the south with highs near 80. And then as we go into tonight, scattered showers and storms developing across the area with lows in the 60s. Then tomorrow, those shift south and east with highs around 80 degrees. And then as we go into Saturday morning, strong south winds, lows in the upper 60s and lower 70s. And over the next 7 days, here's the storms on Saturday night into Sunday morning, then drier Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with more showers on Thursday and Friday. Employees working at a local Utah restaurant are glad they worked Friday night. Customers were satisfied with their meal and service and decided to leave a huge tip, one that is sure to put a noticeable dent in their pocket. And now the owner of the restaurant is speaking out. Ashley Moser has the grateful message.
Running a successful restaurant is no easy feat. But for Alfonso Brito, it's a challenge he's taken in stride.
When we moved to America, we have nothing to our names. We have $20 in our pocket. And we started working in the restaurant business as a dishwasher.
After years of moving up in the kitchen, Alfonso and his wife opened this Mexican restaurant, Monarca, in 2021. On Friday night, a regular customer with a group of about 20 friends.
They were about to leave. They said, "Hey, Alfonso, can you come with your crew? We want to thank you because we have a great time." And I said, "Of course."
He rounded up his staff and got a surprise of a lifetime.
He just pulled out of his pocket $10,000 and 100s.
Just such a cool experience to be able to give back a little bit.
Nikisha and Steven's friends have been giving out $1,000 tips to deserving restaurants.
A little over 20 times, I think is the number now that we've actually done.
They say Friday night they were able to band together a $10,000 tip to split between restaurant employees just because.
To see the tears coming down our waiter's face and how he was just full of gratitude, it was so cool.
We have an amazing team. We have a great cooks. cocineros, we have a great server. So every person in our team is important.
An opportunity for Alfonso to recognize his staff, one he'll always be grateful for.
It makes this world really a good place, because we have these amazing people around.
That's an amazing story and a great group of people that were incredibly generous there in Utah. Coming up, the Children's Haven of Southwestern Missouri celebrates 20 years in the area. We'll be right back with that story, but first, here's a live look from Fort Scott, Kansas, where today is Fall Fest in Fort Scott. We'll have more when we come back.
If you drive on Interstate 94 just north of downtown Minneapolis, you might notice something a little bit different about it. Kent Erdahl has the story.
Interstate 94 just north of downtown Minneapolis has a new look after Billy Bus Transportation knocked Minnie Mapco from her perch. But don't worry, after more than 40 years, the mannequin and her Porsche are hitting the road.
So I have a freeway
to retire
35W
a few miles south.
So I'm thinking that'll be kind of an addition to my little thing here going on.
Jake Hood's little thing is Hot Sam's Antiques in Lakeville, which is the kind of place you have to see to believe.
Basically, I'm a junk man with a sense of humor.
Which brings us to the call Jake received from someone with Billy Bus a few days ago.
He said, "We got something you may be interested in. You can actually have it for nothing if you want it." I said, "Well, sure, I'll take that."
Good price?
Yeah, the price is right. So
it'll be a fun addition.
Jake's longtime partner, Kathy Sockery, says the car instantly reminds her of her trips back from college in the 1980s.
So I would drive by coming back to the cities, and I knew I was on my way home. And I'd always see her waving. She'd be waving. So.
She was waving, always waving.
For Dory Wogel and her sisters, Minnie reminds them of the man behind it, their dad, Joseph Garber.
My dad was very creative in thinking outside the box.
Yes, that was certainly a testament to his creativity and outside the box thinking. It was to get people's attention, and also it was a good landmarker when you're giving directions on how to find the store.
That store used to be advertised on the door until new owners replaced it with Psalm 46:10 in the 1990s.
It originally had big yellow letters with Mapco. It was Mapco Red with big yellow letters that said Mapco, Minneapolis Auto Parts Company.
At that time, they say Minnie even had a twin. And yes, they were into sports.
He put them in both the twins' uniform, and one of the mannequin was up in the car and the other one was down by the fence. And they would have the mitt, and it would look like they were tossing the baseball back and forth.
Over the years, Minnie was joined by a robot co-pilot, also created by their father. And as they pulled into their new home this afternoon, Jake was already making plans to put her back on a pedestal where she belongs.
I can maybe get it 12 feet, 10 to 12 feet in the air. It'll be enough to where you can see it from the freeway.
And family can certainly visit her anytime.
Hardware Hank actually is one that the family comes in every year to visit and say hi.
Next time I'm in Minneapolis, that's going to be my first stop.
We're happy to hear that its life will live on still.
It's a little bit of my dad, and he's still here and he's still with us, and he was happy when it went up, and he's probably happy that it's still around.
We'll be right back with more news and weather right after this break.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. The time now is 7:28 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. The Children's Haven of Southwest Missouri celebrated its 20th anniversary. It's their 20 years of service. The Children's Haven has provided temporary shelter more than 8,000 local kids have appreciated. This milestone was commemorated with a ribbon-cutting ceremony and the unveiling of their new pinwheel sculpture. The pinwheel is the national symbol of child abuse and neglect prevention. But for the Children's Haven, it represents more hope for the community.
To have the pinwheel in our front yard is really a beacon of hope and a legacy there for future generations of Southwest Missouri families who need crisis care services.
The Children's Haven celebrates their continuing service to local families. Meadowview Elementary in Parsons, Kansas held its ribbon-cutting ceremony. The school unveiled its brand new outdoor classroom area Ajit Pai, the former chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, attended the event as he had made generous contributions towards building the new area.
While students are learning things like 2 + 2 = 4, or this is how you diagram a sentence, they'll be able to do it in an environment that allows them to experience nature. And I think that combination of just having fresh air and learning new concepts is a really powerful one.
Work on the outdoor classroom finished in April.
And we have a few showers on radar, but they're mainly down to the south. We have one lone shower down in southern Delaware County between Bull Hollow and also Leech, moving over towards Kansas, Little Kansas this morning. And we have more scattered showers in eastern Oklahoma from around Muskogee to Stigler down towards Poto, even some lightning occurring with some of that activity. All of that's primarily going to stay to the south, but as we go into the overnight hours, we're going to see more scattered showers developing across our region. Today on the allergies, 7.2 on the scale. Tomorrow a little bit better, 6.7, and again that's likely due to the rainfall. And then we're looking at mostly ragweed, chenopod, and nettle. I'll have a complete look at your forecast, including a look at severe weather possibilities over the weekend in Maine weather in just a little bit.
The city of Chanute, Kansas is battling with the public library and the Safari Museum concerning facility repairs. The library and the museum operate in a city-owned building rent-free, but the city maintains the agreement requires the organizations to pay for maintenance. And the groups say they can't afford the estimated $1 million cost to replace a malfunctioning HVAC system.
We do have some savings on the library side, but if we spent those savings on our half of the HVAC system, it would eliminate any kind of savings that we would have. So if there was a fire or a major disaster or something like that, we would have no kind of safety net to fall back on.
The only thing we want is an understanding, because the agreement that's been in there since 1990 isn't clear on who is supposed to cover that stuff.
A city commissioner says the city is proposing a new agreement where the museum and the library would pay for rent and the city would be responsible for maintenance. But there appears to be some confusion about what exactly this new arrangement would require. And folks in Webb City showed their cardinal pride at their annual Paint the Town Red homecoming event. There was a community bonfire at the middle school football field. There was also games, prizes, and a hot dog cookout. It's part of the high school's festivities ahead of this Friday's homecoming football game. Before the bonfire, there was a parade that started at the corner of 1st and Main and ended on Stadium Drive. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Captain Will Davis from the Joplin Police Department stops by to tell us all about some local traffic issues affecting the Joplin area. Plus, Sam has more with weather.
That's right. We're going to have a look at the weekend forecast, which includes a chance of some severe storms. We'll have all the details on that when we come back. But first, let's take a live look at Fort Scott, Kansas, where today is the first day of Fall Fest in Fort Scott. We'll have more news and weather when we come back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Joining us in studio today is Captain Will Davis with the Joplin Police Department. He's here to talk about the traffic issues affecting the Joplin area. Welcome to the show, Captain.
Hi, good morning. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, so what are the biggest issues that we're facing right now?
So we are about to wrap up third quarter of 2023, and so we'll kind of look at kind of what our traffic numbers are doing. But I can say that for the first half of the year, our traffic crash numbers, they have been holding pretty steady. We're about 735 traffic crashes, and so halfway through the year. And so, the big things, of course, every year it's pretty consistent with your major contributing factors are going to be following too close, failing to yield at intersections, failing to yield at a stop sign. Inattentive driving is a big one.
That's right.
Yeah,
and we just passed that law, actually, the new Missouri hands-free law.
Yeah, absolutely. And communication devices, they are one of the top contributing factors when you look at inattentive driving. And so in the state of Missouri, the governor just signed the new law into effect, and so
Really interesting. What took it so long? I've lived in other states, and this has been going on for years now, and I'm surprised that...
There has been a law on the books that is just for a certain age and younger, and
Oh, okay.
this now
Makes sense.
applies to everybody. So it doesn't matter if you're an adult driver, a teen driver, it's on the books for everybody.
All right, so I got a question. So say you're driving, right? And you have to type in the GPS to look up the closest Taco Bell, as you do. So is that allowed if you have it like on your screen or something? Or is it just
you'd have to park. So
pull over? Okay, good to know.
So as long as your vehicle is inoperable, the basics of the new law is that you basically can't be holding a phone while talking.
Okay.
You can't be texting and driving. You can't be watching a video. So you can't be on YouTube.
Yes.
You can't be on social media. You can't be recording anything. It's basically allows for you to use any Bluetooth or any smart devices that allow hands-free talk or hands-free texting.
And most cars these days do have that, so
Most of
there's
them.
really no reason
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
on it. And
there are some exceptions. So, like if you come across an emergency situation, or if you have to press a button to start a hands-free device, that is allowed. So, I mean, there's some common sense, applications that you can use it.
do you think that people are responding well to it, or is it taking some getting used to? Have you found over a lot of people?
I mean, actually, they kind of built in a grace period. So the law is into effect, but there cannot be any enforcement action taken until January of 2025.
Okay.
So that's important. We want the public to know that, while we're going to be out there looking for it, it's not one of those that you're not going to be cited for it until January. So, state legislature, they were smart and kind of building in that grace
Try to
period.
get people used to it.
Yep.
And how much would a ticket be?
So it kind of ranges. So a first offense, you're looking at somewhere, I believe, less than $50.
Okay.
And then it kind of goes up from there. So your second offense, it kind of builds and builds and builds. And if you're involved in a crash, it gets a lot more severe.
Yes.
And it becomes a felony if it involves you're in a crash and involves a death.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Captain Davis. I really appreciate you being here. Make
you.
sure you drive safe, and please put the cell phones down while driving. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. We'll be right back with some more news.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Right now in Seneca, Missouri, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, things are looking pretty good. Just a few mid-level clouds out there with some scattered showers in the distance. Right now in Joplin, we're sitting at 68 degrees with a calm wind, humidity at 81%. Here's those showers down to the south in Mays and in southern Delaware County. Other scattered showers stretching across eastern Oklahoma into western Arkansas this morning. Most of that activity will stay to the south today. Temperatures are in the 60s right now, especially up to the north, with lower 60s and then mid to upper 60s elsewhere. Rain chances are going to be low today, but then as we go into the overnight hours and tomorrow morning, that's when the rain chances are really going to start to increase across our area. Let's take a look at the upper level flow. Here's one storm system that's going to be impacting us tonight and tomorrow morning. And then as we go into Saturday, a bigger system pulls out into the plains, dragging with it a cold front and dry line. And with all the ingredients coming together, we could look at a severe weather event across our region, and all threats are possible. Then on Sunday, that system sweeps through and starts to move out of here. But right now, we're looking at a slight risk of severe weather, stretching all the way from western parts of Iowa and eastern Nebraska, all the way down into northeastern Oklahoma. And of course, that incorporates all of our area, with all threats possible, with the main threat being heavy rainfall. In some places, could pick up over 2.5 inches of rain by the time all is said and done, by the time we go into Sunday morning. So we definitely need the rainfall, just not the severe weather, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Temperatures this afternoon are going to be in the lower 80s with the best chance of storms down to the south. And then tonight, those scattered showers and storms moving across our area with lows in the 60s. Now let's go over to Caitlin with this morning's Consumer Watch.
All right, thanks, Sam. Detroit's airport is the best voted, and Newark Liberty ranks last in customer satisfaction. J.D. Power released its 2023 North America Airport Satisfaction Study Wednesday. It shows passenger satisfaction improved overall this year. Airports were evaluated by looking at 6 factors in order of importance: terminal facilities, airport arrival, departure, baggage claim, security check, and check-in and baggage check, and food, beverage, and retail. Detroit's Metropolitan Wayne County Airport had the highest score. Rounding out the top 5 were Minneapolis St. Paul International, Harry Reid International, Las Vegas, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Miami. And Elon Musk has a company that wants to use a brain implant. His controversial startup Neuralink says it's recruiting for its first human trial. It's working on a precise robotically implanted brain-computer interface called Prime for short. Participants will have a chip placed in their brains that sends signals to an app. The goal is to control a computer cursor or keyboard with their thoughts. Neuralink is controversial since a monkey died during a trial last year. And Bank of America is increasing its minimum wage by $1. Starting next month, workers will make $23 an hour for full-time employees. That means a starting salary of nearly $48,000 a year. Bank of America is also planning another $2 raise in 2025. That would be its 7th wage increase since 2017. Other banks, including Trust Financial, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo, have also increased worker pay over the past few years. And millions of American homeowners could see insurance rates surge in the coming years, in part due to the worsening climate disasters. An analysis from nonprofit research group First Street Foundation found nearly 39 million homes and commercial properties are at risk of their premiums spiking. That covers about 27% of the lower 48 states. Major insurers have already pulled out of stopped writing new policies in California, Florida, and Louisiana, in part citing increased climate risks like more destructive wildfires and stronger hurricanes. And employees advocating for a remote work might have another positive in their favor. A new study found working from home is better for the environment. The authors say it could cut a person's carbon footprint by 58% compared to in-office work. Hybrid work has also had an impact. Working from home 2 to 4 days a week cut a person's carbon footprint by up to 29%. One day at home didn't make a significant difference. The study analyzed multiple data sets, including energy consumption surveys and Microsoft employees' data. Several of the researchers were also Microsoft employees. And more people are buying and refinancing their homes despite high interest rates. A new report shows mortgage applications rose more than 5% between last week and the prior one. The numbers are from the Mortgage Bankers Association. Its deputy chief economist notes that the jump comes as the 30-year fixed rate edges back up. The report is out of the same day as planned Federal Reserve announcement. And we'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. Gator Park in Florida is asking the public to help name its latest resident, an alligator that went viral because half of her jaw is missing. Most find the large reptile scary, but this one is being described as sweet.
Jeannie Moos introduces us to the alligator.
Talk about an underbite. Meet the Florida gator everybody's jawing about.
This is the most extreme I've ever seen of this kind of injury, but her eyes are really sweet.
Her snout was sliced off, just short of those sweet eyeballs, probably by the propeller of a boat, says the trapper holding her, who brought her to Gatorland Park. Let the contest begin. Help us name our newest resident. Suggestions range from gummy to jaw, singular, to bottom feeder to Gator McGatorface.
Someone suggested topless.
Topless? Oh, that's a little racy for a family park.
In mid-interview, we got an update on the quarantined alligator.
Breaking news, the new gator held a meatball on her tongue for 5 to 10 minutes, and then she spit it off.
A meatball?
Yeah, there you go.
That little pop.
This is a gator named Trapjaw with a similar, though less severe injury. He's been trained to eat meatballs, no need to chew.
Kind of kick him back like a man in a bar drinking a beer.
They hope their newest resident will do likewise. Savannah Bone doesn't just preach gator conservation, she wears gators on her sleeve. Her favorite name submission is Gumdrop, while we preferred one inspired by Dolly Parton's song. Julie. How about Jawline for the new gator?
I'm going to add that to the top 10 list.
The gator kind of reminds you of Mr. Bottomtooth from Family Guy. This amazing creature said, "See you later, alligator," to her entire upper jaw and yet survived. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
Jolene.
I
I mean,
like that
it's so good. Oh, I'm glad that the alligator's happy now and being taken care of.
Yeah. Well, we have some weather out there to talk about, especially as we head towards the weekend with some storm activity. Let's take a look outside right now at the forecast. You can see highs today are going to be in the lower 80s with the best chance of storms down to the south where highs will only be in the 70s. Then as we go into tonight and tomorrow morning, that's when the better chance of showers and storms moves across our area with lows in the 60s. Then tomorrow afternoon, those showers will be moving to the south with highs near or right at 80 degrees. And then as we go into Saturday morning, we're going to see stiff south winds with moisture increasing and temperatures in the 60s and lower 70s. And then as we head into Saturday afternoon and evening, that's when we're going to see the scattered showers and storms, some severe weather likely Saturday night into Sunday morning with heavy rainfall. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday drier with temperatures in the 70s and lows in the 50s, and then another chance of showers as we go into Thursday and Friday of next week. But seasonable temperatures across the area. But we're really going to be watching and very concerned about the threat of severe weather on Saturday night into Sunday morning, especially with all threats possible, including the possibility of tornadoes. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll have more when we come back with more news and weather when the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 returns.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A Coffeyville man will face a jury trial for the May 2022 shooting death of another man. A court was set for the trial of David Allen Jackson for next March. Jackson is charged with one count of premeditated first-degree murder in the fatal shooting of Melvin Simpson Jr. at Jackson's home in Coffeyville. Jackson, who has been in the Montgomery County Jail since the discovery of Simpson's death in May 2022, plans to represent himself in the jury trial. And a former Coffeyville minister is charged with the rape of a minor. William Keith Dodd, who is the former pastor of the Lewick Church of God, was formally charged with 2 counts of raping a youth on 2 occurrences between January 1st and September 11th of this year. If convicted of the charges, Dodd could face a lifetime imprisonment with no chance of parole. Dodd remains in the Montgomery County Jail with bond set at $250,000. An Independence man was sentenced to 59 months in prison after being granted a second chance on a prior sex crime conviction. James William Robertson of Independence pleaded no contest to 2 charges: aggravated intimidation of a witness younger than age 18 and aggravated battery. Following his release from prison, Robertson will be required to have 5 years of supervision.
All right, here's a look at the forecast. We're expecting partly cloudy skies today with a high of around 83 degrees. Then tonight and tomorrow morning, scattered showers and storms developing with a high of 80 tomorrow. Then Saturday, warm, 85 in the afternoon with thunderstorms developing late Saturday night into Sunday morning. Some of those are likely going to be severe. And then as we go into Sunday morning, heavy rainfall will start to shift more to the east with highs in the upper 70s, and then drier for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then another round of storms possible on Thursday and Friday of next week with highs in the upper 70s and lows in the 50s. But at least we're getting some decent rainfall in here to help take care of some of that drought situation that we've been dealing with for such a long time. And we were kind of hoping for this as we start El Nino this winter, that we would get caught up on the rainfall and end this drought that we've been in for the last 3 years. And it looks like hopefully that's going to continue.
Great news
yeah,
then.
That is great news.
Right.
We just don't need the severe weather.
Yeah, let's leave that part out. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, a rare $10,000 bill dating back to the Great Depression has sold for a record price.
Heritage Auctions said it sold for $480,000, beating the previous record set back in 2020. The $10,000 bill was the highest denomination note to ever go into circulation.
That's incredible. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we will see you right back here at noon and again tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Thanks so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather today at noon.